Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets Russian counterpart Lavrov in Moscow. Leaders review bilateral ties, vow to expand trade in balanced and sustainable manner. India's space mission on fast-track mode, says Union Minister Jitendra Singh. Manned mission Gaganyaan on schedule. Israel starts first phase of Gaza City operation, calls thousands of army reservists. UN Chief Antonio Guterres calls for immediate ceasefire. Russia says its inclusion must in any security guarantee talks on Ukraine. Zelensky asks Trump to push Hungary to unblock Ukraine's EU path. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a visit to Russia. Jaishankar met with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on Thursday. The leaders held talks on political relationship and reviewed bilateral ties between India and Russia. The visit aims to further strengthen the long-standing and time-tested India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership. Later in the day, EAM Jaishankar, along with his counterpart, held a joint media briefing. Speaking at the press conference, Jaishankar said that India and Russia have been the steadiest of the major relationships in the world after the Second World War. During the meet, both countries reaffirmed shared ambition to expand bilateral trade in a balanced and sustainable manner.
Between India and Russia have been among the steadiest of the major relationships in the world after the Second World War. We reaffirmed our shared ambition to expand bilateral trade in a balanced and sustainable manner, including by increasing India's exports to Russia. This requires swiftly addressing non-tariff barriers and regulatory impediments, enhancing Indian exports to Russia and sectors like pharmaceuticals, agriculture and textiles will certainly help to correct the current imbalance.
Meanwhile, Russian FM Lavrov said that Russia and India have achieved good results in energy cooperation and Moscow is interested in further joint energy projects with New Delhi.
We have good results in cooperation in the sphere of hydrocarbons and the supply of Russian oil to the Indian market. And we have a mutual interest in implementing joint projects for the extraction of energy resources, including in the Russian Federation, in the Far East and on the Arctic shelf.
На Дальнем Востоке и на Арктическом шельфе.
All right, and we are joined by Anastasia Volodina, RT correspondent. Hi, Anastasia. We understand that External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, and his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, discussed different issues, some important issues as well, related to defense, related to people-to-people ties. What more details do you have on this that the both leaders discussed? What are the issues to take the bilateral ties to newer heights?
Thank you for having me on the program. And first, of course, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his Indian counterparts met in Moscow. And just to be precise, in the building right behind me, both Lavrov and Jaishankar praised the strong and flourishing bilateral ties that New Delhi and Moscow have. Lavrov actually underlined during his opening words that the trade turnover between Moscow and New Delhi has increased by 15% in the last year. The two sides, of course, also discussed a wide range of topics, including projects in the field of energy, including the nuclear energy as well, infrastructure, space, transport. And Lavrov emphasized that the two countries will take cooperation to a new and a higher level. But of course, the talks also focused on regional and international agenda, with the Ukraine conflict as the main topic being discussed by both parties. Lavrov stressed that Russia will not drop its demands for real security guarantees, including Ukraine's neutrality, and non-alignment with military blocs such as NATO, once again underlining that the root causes of the conflict must be eliminated first. And must be addressed as well.
Okay.
He also noted, Sergei Lavrov also noted that Russia and the US are making efforts to actually finally bring peace and stability to the conflict and to world security. But some Western countries are actually trying to prolong the conflict and actually halting the peace process. Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar, of course, on his behalf, when I asked him personally that question, regarding Washington's attitude towards India buying Russian oil and the unprecedented pressure that the US has put on India for India's support of the conflict in Ukraine and for buying energy from Russia. And Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar stated that India is actually perplexed with the US's logic, underlining that New Delhi actually also buys energy, oil from the US as well. So overall, of course, the talks were very fruitful, very productive, and the two countries are clearly set to develop and develop ties and take them to a next and higher level.
All right, the talks were productive and fruitful. That's what our correspondent Anastasia Volodina is saying. Thank you so much, Anastasia. We'll leave it there. On Thursday, Russia said that Ukraine was not interested in a long-term peace deal. Russia has accused Ukraine of seeking security guarantees incompatible with their country's demands. In a press statement, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the Ukrainian regime and its representatives comment on the current situation in a very specific way, directly showing that they are not interested in a sustainable, fair, long-term settlement. Hungarian Foreign Minister said on Thursday that Hungary has offered to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine twice, and the offer still stands. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reacted to the statement and has asked Donald Trump to pressure Hungary to unblock Ukraine's negotiations with the EU, adding that President Trump promised that his team would work on this. In a latest news from West Asia, Israel's military took its first steps of an operation to take over Gaza City. Israel called up tens of thousands of army reservists and is pressing ahead with its plan to seize Gaza's biggest urban center. It currently holds about 75% of the Gaza Strip. Earlier, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz approved this military plan, piling pressure on Hamas as mediators push for a ceasefire. Hamas had accepted the latest proposal for mediators for a ceasefire. Israel's security cabinet, chaired by Netanyahu, approved the plan to take over Gaza City in early August. The framework that Hamas had approved proposes an initial 60-day truce, a staggered hostage release, the freeing of some Palestinian prisoners, and provisions allowing for the entry of aid into Gaza. Israel also approved a major settlement project on Wednesday in an area of West Bank that the international community has warned threatens the viability of a future Palestinian state. Israel aims to build on 12 square kilometer parcel known as E1 just east of Jerusalem, but the plan had been stalled for years amid international opposition. The latest announcement also drew condemnation, with UN Chief Antonio Guterres saying the fresh settlement poses an existential threat to a contagious Palestinian state.
About peace, I must reiterate that it is vital to reach immediately a ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages, and to avoid the massive deaths and destruction that a military operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause. Simultaneously, the decision by the Israeli authorities to expand illegal settlement construction, which would divide the West Bank, must be reversed. All settlement construction is a violation of international law.
US Vice President J.D. Vance has said that European countries will have to take the lion's share of the financial burden for Ukraine's security guarantees. Responding to a question by a news channel, Vance said that United States should not have to pay for any future security guarantees for Ukraine. He also said that he did not think it should be necessary to work out all the details of a Russia-Ukraine peace agreement before arranging a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Ukraine wants to know that it's not going to get invaded again by Russia. It wants to know that it's got territorial integrity long into the future. The Russians want certain pieces of territory, most of which they've occupied, but some of which they haven't. So that is really where the meat of the negotiation is. The Ukrainians want security guarantees. The Russians want a certain amount of territory. Again, we finally got the details. We're working on them, but we haven't figured everything out. And I don't think that we should force, we shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
Thailand's billionaire Chinawat family is bracing for a series of high-stakes court decisions starting on Friday that could test its political resilience, with the prospect of an early election and prolonged trouble for the country's stuttering economy. Thailand's Chinawat political dynasty has been at the heart of 2 decades of intermittent turmoil, and its latest battles will culminate in rulings. This could unseat Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra for an alleged ethics violation and put her influential but polarizing father, Thaksin Shinawatra, back in prison. A court will on Friday rule if Thaksin, during a 2015 media interview, insulted the powerful monarchy, a serious crime in Thailand which carries lengthy jail terms of up to 50 years. Another court will decide 18 days later if the tycoon's 2023 detention in a VIP hospital wing instead of jail means his prison sentence for abuse of power and conflicts of interest was not fully served. Both Chinawats have denied any wrongdoing. The US and Venezuela appear to be heading towards a standoff, with neither country indicating a willingness to back down, as US is deploying 3 warships off the coast of Venezuela as part of efforts to curb drug trafficking. The deployment comes as the Trump administration steps up pressure on Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, doubling its bounty to $50 million earlier this month on drug charges. The 3 Aegis-class guided missile destroyers are heading to the waters of Venezuela. US media reported that Washington was also planning to send 4,000 Marines to the region. Washington, which does not recognize Maduro's past 2 election victories, accuses him of leading the Cartel de los Soles, Cartel of the Suns, cocaine trafficking gang. Venezuela's Maduro has slammed US military deployment in the Caribbean as threat to regional peace and a violation of the international law. Speaking at the Alba TCP summit, Maduro accused the US of using anti-drug operations as a pretext for intervention and falsely linking Venezuela to terrorism. Now, latest updates in Hurricane Erin. The hurricane flooded a motel and a road along the coast in Buxton, North Carolina on Wednesday, triggering strong waves. National Hurricane Center rated Erin as Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds of 100 miles per hour. The gusty winds have prompted red flag warnings against swimming, and authorities have urged caution as Erin moves north, with rough surf expected to continue into Thursday. Hurricane Erin is one of the 5 North Atlantic storm systems to reach Category 5 status, the fastest. Earlier, Hurricane Erin swirled over the Atlantic Ocean. On Monday, it passed through Central America and re-intensified into a Category 4 storm, whereas on Sunday, the US National Hurricane Center downgraded it to Category 3 as wind speed eased slightly. Erin was categorized at a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane on Saturday. Began as a tropical storm on August 11, Erin has evolved over the past 10 days, causing major shifts in the climate patterns of the region. Japan's Sanwa construction company has found out solution to deal with scorching heat waves by providing a daily free flow of classic Japanese shaved ice desserts and salt gels with fruity flavors to help them cool down while working at the site. To help its workers cope with the heat, the company also advised them to take breaks and stay hydrated, especially on days when the risk of heat stroke is high. Japan has endured one of the hottest summers with the highest ever temperatures of 41.8 degrees Celsius recorded on August 5th. This prompted the government to advise residents to stay indoors as concerns mount about heat-related health risks for construction workers who spend long hours working outdoors. French firefighting units joined the Spanish military emergency unit in controlling a wildfire in Corporales in the Spanish province of León. The fire broke out on Wednesday, affecting part of the UNESCO-listed Las Medulas National Park. Authorities said the fire has improved dramatically, decreasing from 2 to 1 on the wildfire scale. The Spanish Army has deployed 3,400 troops and 50 aircraft to help firefighters, while Czech Republic, Finland, France, Germany, Netherlands and Slovakia have sent hundreds of firefighters, vehicles and aircraft. The end of 16-day heatwave season and an expected rainfall prediction has given the hope of ending the wildfire. And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In a rare air showcase, The Wizard of the Oz at Sphere opens off the Las Vegas Strip on August 28. The movie marks one of the most significant partnerships between a studio and a technology company to use artificial intelligence to forge a brand new media experience. Promoting its cutting-edge art scene, palaces and techno clubs, Berlin has opened itself warmly to welcome tourists. This is due to increasing heat wave impacts, making European nations less favored destinations. Berlin has maximum summer temperatures of about 25 degrees Celsius with relatively affordable costs for hotels and tourist locations. World's oldest living person, Ethel Cottenham, celebrated her 116th on Thursday with her family in England. She earned her title as the world's oldest living person in May when the record was confirmed by Guinness World Records and LongWeQuest, a database on the world's oldest people. And still to come on this edition of DD in the Live. The monsoon session of Indian Parliament concludes. Stay tuned for major takeaways. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Bihar and West Bengal on Friday. And we'll show you an entirely new face, a different face of East India Company.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. The monsoon session of Indian Parliament, which commenced on July 21st, has been adjourned sine die on Thursday. The Parliament passed the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill 2025 with the Upper House or Rajya Sabha approving it on Thursday. The bill, which was passed in the lower house or Lok Sabha on Wednesday, was moved in the upper house by Minister for Electronics, Information and Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, aims to promote and regulate online gaming and put a complete ban on money gaming in India.
सभापति महोदय, ऑनलाइन गेमिंग एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट एक विषय है जो एक डिजिटल की दुनिया में एक महत्वपूर्ण सेक्टर बन के उभरा है। उप सभापति महोदय, इसके 3 सेगमेंट है। इस बिल में ई स्पोर्ट्स को प्रमोट किया जाएगा, उसके लिए एक अथॉरिटी बनाई जाएगी और इसको एक लीगल रिकॉग्निशन मिलेगा।
Earlier, Home Minister Amit Shah also moved the Constitution 130th Amendment Bill 2025, which has been referred to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. Meanwhile, a total of 15 bills were passed by Rajya Sabha during the monsoon session. The 5th session of the 18th Lok Sabha was marked by frequent disruptions by the opposition on several issues. During the monsoon session, 14 bills were introduced and 12 bills were passed by the Lok Sabha, including the Indian Institutes of Management Bill, the Indian Ports Bill, the Merchant Shipping Bill, the Anti-Doping Bill, the National Sports Governance Bill, and the much debated Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill, among others. The lower house on Wednesday also saw the introduction of the crucial Constitution 130th Amendment Bill 2025, which aims to decriminalize politics and bring in more accountability in the political power circles. The Parliament also witnessed a thorough debate lasting more than 36 hours combined in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha on India's successful military offense against terror, Operation Sindoor.
ये सत्र 31 जुलाई 2025 को आरंभ हुआ था। इस सत्र में 14 सरकारी विधेयक पुनर्स्थापित किए गए तथा कुल 12 विधेयक पारित किए गए। दिनांक 28 और 29 जुलाई को ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर विशेष चर्चा हुई, जिसका समापन माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के उत्तर के साथ हुआ। दिनांक 18 अगस्त 2025 को भारत के अंतरिक्ष कार्यक्रम की उपलब्धियों पर विशेष चर्चा प्रारंभ की गई।
India's Minister of State for Earth Sciences and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh, highlighted India's benchmarks in the space sector. He also said that the space component is going to be a great value addition to our economic goals.
More than 300. What also I think he should have mentioned is that our space economy was almost dismal, not even worth mentioning. Today we are $8 billion, and the manner in which we are progressing, our projections indicate that in just next 8 to 10 years we'll be going up nearly 5 times, maybe $45 billion, which otherwise means that as we move on from economy number 4 to 3, 2 and 1, space component is going to be a major value addition to the future economic growth.
Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla shared his experience of the historic Axiom 4 mission. The Indian astronaut further said that the information he gained will be extremely useful for the country's upcoming missions.
Part of this mission, we witnessed an end-to-end execution of a human spaceflight mission, and the learnings that are gained are much beyond the textbooks and the material that we have. Like experience, small things, small stuff that you see every day happening. Why are they important? And what would happen if you miss it? And then during our mission, there were certain things that happened, the contingencies which were slightly off nominal, and that also helps you understand why these missions are so complex, and what is important. So I think the value of being a part of such mission is really immeasurable, like the minister was mentioning, that it is, the information gained is much more and much beyond than what is the defined objective of the entire mission.
Earlier, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla met Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today. Rajnath Singh said that Group Captain Shukla's inspiring journey will motivate young minds to pursue careers in science, technology and space exploration. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Bihar and West Bengal on Friday. During his visit to Bihar, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate key development projects including the Onta-Simaria Bridge project, a 8.15 kilometer long bridge on NH31, including the 1.86 kilometer long 6-lane bridge over the river Ganga, constructed at a cost of rupees over 1,870 crore. In line with his commitment to world-class infrastructure and developed urban connectivity, Prime Minister will inaugurate metro railway projects in Kolkata. From ruling India to now being led by an Indian, the East India Company's story has come full circle. The East India Company, once a symbol of empire, now has a new face, and it's Indian. DD India's Tripti Tripathi reports.
Imagine this, the company that once ruled over India is now being led by an Indian. Sounds like poetic justice, right? Well, it's true. The East India Company, yes, you heard it right, has an Indian at the helm today. East India Company was established in 1600 as a British trading enterprise, but over time it became more than just a business. It controlled armies, collected taxes and eventually ruled vast part of India. By the 1800s, the company was the most powerful force in India until the 1857 revolt changed everything. After that, the British Crown took over and the East India Company slowly vanished from power. But here's where the story takes a twist. The company wasn't buried in history. In the early 2000s, Indian origin businessman Sanjeev Mehta bought the right to the name and revived the East India Company as a luxury brand. Today, it sells high-end teas, chocolates, spices and gourmet products, all under that same historic name. Sanjeev Mehta is a Mumbai-born entrepreneur who saw an opportunity to reclaim a powerful piece of history. Let this sink in. The company that once colonized India, ruled over whole India, is now owned and led by an Indian. It's a statement. It shows how India, once exploited, now reclaims and redefines its past. The East India Company ruled India for over 200 years. Today, it answers to an Indian. That's not just business, that's poetic justice.
That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Prasar Bharati from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.